Hey you guys, it's Tonya, and today I thought I would do a video in real time for you guys. So we're going to make this card, and it's based on the Die-namites Sketch Dare challenge for June. The challenge is to create a masculine card, and since Father's Day is this weekend coming up, I thought it would be nice to do a little Father's Day card. So this is what we're going to do, start to finish, and then here's the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm starting out with a print from a jelly plate. We've been doing a lot of tutorials on my channel with jelly plates lately. My nephew was here this past weekend and we pulled some plates, and this is one that he did. So what I'm going to start out doing is I have some archival ink here. No, excuse me, I'm not going to use archival ink. I'm going to use the vintage photo ink from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to distress this up because with this type of card, I don't want to have all of this negative white space. So I'm just going to add some color to this area really quickly because we're not going to see a whole lot of this by the time I get my elements on. I just don't want to see the starkness of the white. So I'm just add that color in there, really nice. Then for another added dimension, I have the Lemore Weber Designs Rugged Edge stamps from Indigo Blue. And this is the one that has this nice hexagon pattern, which again is also very masculine. So that's where I'm going to use my archival ink. And I'm just going to stamp around in some of these negative spaces, random. Just adding some more texture to this and giving it a nice look. And again, you're not going to see a whole lot of this, but it's nice to fill in the negative spaces from your jelly prints. And I love how you can take something that's really big and busy and cut it down smaller and use it for card bases. So for today's card base, I just have some cardstock that's in a navy blue color. It has a really nice linen texture to it. I'm not sure which company makes it. It's been in my stash for a while. And in the sketch, we have the sketch is kind of off kilter a little bit. This is a super popular design for cards these days. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that using my ATG gun. And when he pulled these prints, we just pulled them on standard copy paper. Nothing special. I didn't waste cardstock with it because I knew we were going to be using this for collage, and sometimes the cardstock gets a little too bulky. So I decided to pull these prints on paper instead. And it's nice because as the acrylic paint dries, it gives it a really nice thickness to the paper too. So then all of this extra space here, or that on the edge, I'm just going to trim that off. Okay. Now, everywhere this is pulled up on the edge where I didn't get a whole lot of glue behind there, if it's pulling up, I'm going to add a little bit of wet glue later, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to come back around with my vintage photo and just add some grunge to the edges of this card. So for the challenge, I have to use the Die-namite dies. So today I decided to take out of the same cardstock and add this cut this die, which is the Leafy Flowers die. So I'm only going to cut one of those, and it's going to kind of go right in the center here. But to make it spread out a little more, I think I might cut it in half, but let's see if I need to before I do that. So if I tilt it a certain way before I glue it down, I'm going to test it. I have my little strip here that I'm going to write my sentiment on. I think I can get away with trimming it maybe just a little bit right here and spreading it out. So let's do that. I'm just going to take my scissors. Don't be afraid to cut your dies if you need to make them fit into something else. So I'm just following the edge of the die where it would naturally be cut and cutting that off. Now if I do that, I need to test before I glue anything down if I need to cut some of these pieces off of this side. So if I put this way and then this die comes across like this, then, whoops, get the angle right, then I think I might be okay. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and glue that down. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the Scotch adhesive to add a few dots here and there. This is the Scotch Quick Dry, and I'm not going to put the glue everywhere. I'm just going to put it on in some spots so that the die will actually lift off the page in the areas it's not glued down. It gives it a little extra depth, especially if you need the cards to stay somewhat thin. This is a good way to add depth without adding a lot of bulk. So I'm going to put my thing here, but I don't want to glue it down yet. I'm going to just find placement for this piece. And again, I'm only adding glue where I'm going to have it secured. So if this goes here like this, then this is going to go maybe about right in here. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so I'm going to cut a fishtail out of this side. This is a great idea to do with the kids. Coop had a lot of fun yesterday pulling these prints and letting his imagination just go wild. So if you have a jelly print, this is a fun project to do with the kids. So that's going to lay here. Before I eat up all of the space, I'm going to take my tiny attacher and add a couple of staples across. And I'm just going to do them in a X fashion. And then that's going to get secured there after we write our sentiment. So in this instance, I decided to write my hero on the front. So I want to make sure I have even space all the way around. And before I do it, I'm going to do this one a little differently. I decided to add some stitching to this, so I'm just going to draw some dash lines. It's probably hard to see on this Tim Holtz mat. This is craft cardstock that I'm adding this to. It's just the leftover strips from where I cut my inside liner. The pen I'm using today is Foray Jelly ink pen. It is not completely waterproof. It is somewhat water resistant once the ink dries, and it is smear proof, but not waterproof. But it does write really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit that with the heat gun and make sure it's good and dry. Okay. Now I want to write my hero, so I want the O to be somewhere around in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of map it out. And since this card is coming from a kid, I think it's okay if the handwriting's unstable. I think it adds some charm. Even if I give this to my dad at my age, it gives it some charm if it's handwritten. Sorry for the dead silence. I have to concentrate while I'm writing or I end up in a mess. Okay. So once I have that, I can come back in and fill in my areas. Okay, so now I want to add some foam adhesive to the back of this. So I'm just gonna I better use my scissors. Okay. So now, before I put this down, or well, I guess I could go ahead and do it. We'll put this right here. And then I have this Liquitex ink. And just to add a little sparkle, I'm just going to kind of drop a few splats here and there. Now I'm going to let this dry for just a minute while I work on my sentiment on the inside of my card. So I have this page, the card's an A2 size with a top fold, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I've cut this down to 5 1/4 by 4, so it's a 1/4 inch smaller, and I'll give a nice border. And I'm just going to add some dashes here to the edge. This just sort of mimics the dashes that are in and again, they don't have to be perfect to be wonderful. I think handmade cards that aren't perfect look perfect when they're hand drawn, because it gives everybody a piece of who you are and your talent. Again, I don't want this ink to smear, so I'm being careful not to touch where I've put these lines. I'm just going to hit this with the heat gun really fast. Okay. And so for my sentiment, I'm going to make sure that I do my father first, because it's going to be the biggest word. So I'm going to do just a swirl. I'm going to try and keep this where you guys can see it. Don't worry about the thickness of your lines yet. You can always come back and make those thicker later. So we're just going to do a loop and pull my T straight down. And then the loop of the top of the H is going to cross over my T. So up here we're going to write happy, and this time I think I'm going to keep the word happy kind of narrow since we have a script. But I'm going to keep it elongated so the crossovers are way up high. Just gives it a little interest. Happy Fathers, and then I'm going to put day down here. So this time maybe I'll put feet on it to make it a little different. And you can add a little bulk to this as well. So then it's time to add a little bulk to this. So I'm just going to come back and make all of the down strokes are going to be thicker. So just trace your pencil over where the strokes are going to come down, and that's where you know where to put the thicker lines. So if this was going up, then this would come down. And that's where the thicker lines are going to be. This goes up, this comes down. So we make it a little thicker. This goes up, this comes down. This goes up, this comes down. So then on the S, it's going to be the curve. And there's our card for today. So let's get this into our card base. Now, if you are not comfortable with handwriting, you can always use a stamp of your choice. Or die cut this from like your silhouette. Or another die cut of some kind, but I personally like the hand look drawn of this. Okay, so then I'm going to just add some ATG tape to this and pull back out our card and add this in here. So for details about the Sketch and Dare challenge, I will put a link down in the description box below where you can go view the sketch that I drew for this, and then you can hopefully participate. They're giving away a chance to win a $25 gift certificate to Die-Namite Dies, so that's an awesome value. There's lots of things to choose from there. So go check out the link down below and the blog post that accompanies this to get more details. Thanks for watching.